Benchmark Advance Copyright 2022 is a content-based literacy program that is intentional, purposeful, and integrated. It is designed to build knowledge. It also reflects the science of reading research, both the foundational reading and the knowledge-based competencies. Today, we will focus on 3 areas that set Benchmark Advance apart: building knowledge, the texts, and the tools that help you be responsive to students' needs. Let's start by looking at the program structure, building content knowledge while students learn ELA standards. Inside the Teacher's Resource System is a chart that represents the instructional framework. On the left are the unit numbers. There are 10 units per grade level. The second column represents the topics for each unit, and the other columns represent the grade levels. Each unit focuses on one topic across the grade levels and is 3 weeks in length, so students have time to build knowledge. As students move grade levels from grade K to 1 to 2 and beyond, they are still in these same unit topics, which allows them to build knowledge, language, and vocabulary across their entire elementary career. This means in year 2, students walk in the door with prior knowledge on all 10 topics. There are literary, science, and social studies topics, and throughout there is 50% informational and 50% literary reading. Each unit is guided by an essential question, which grows across the grade levels. The essential questions are not simple, right-there questions with answers you can Google. Students use the knowledge gained across the unit to answer these questions, fostering critical thinking. We introduce the topic and essential question at the beginning, and we intentionally spiral back to the essential question throughout the unit, with time to talk and build knowledge around the variety of texts that students read. Students use a knowledge blueprint to collect their learning. In grades K and 1, we collect together. In grades 2 and above, students collect on their own, right inside their student books. The enduring understandings are clearly stated to help students connect to topic knowledge. Building knowledge vocabulary, or concept vocabulary, is explicitly introduced. Students use it as they speak, listen, and write about the topic. As they engage in topic-based texts, students will continue to add new knowledge. By the end of the unit, students demonstrate understanding through a culminating task, which includes constructive conversations connected to real-world perspectives and writing. Just as knowledge spirals throughout the unit, the same happens as we teach the standards. Benchmark Advance teaches a cluster of related skills and standards across each 3-week unit. The red dot shows where each skill is introduced, and the black dot shows where we spiral back to revisit skills across the unit as students transfer learning to new texts. Actually, this spiral isn't limited to just 3 weeks. It continues across the entire year. Students revisit standards, transferring them to different topics, text types, and genres. Our goal is to take learning beyond mastery to transfer. The spiral of instruction continues across the grades as it mirrors the spiral of the standards. Here is Literary Standard 3, which is character. Kindergartners identify characters, and first graders describe the characters using key details. Benchmark Advance teaches kindergartners to identify characters and first graders to describe characters using key details. The instruction matches that spiral as the standards build and layer grade by grade. Looking at the components, you have whole group, as well as text that can be used for small group. These texts are all focused on the unit topic. Together, they create unit topic text sets that build knowledge and vocabulary. And for students that need extra support, in the past we've had to go to a separate place to find these supports. Not in Benchmark Advance. Intervention and reteaching are built right into the program. Each unit provides a chart that connects the cluster of skills to reteaching lessons and quick checks to monitor progress. Now let's talk about what we put in students' hands. The texts matter. Benchmark Advance provides text sets that are worth reading and that build knowledge and vocabulary. The ELA block begins with read-alouds to introduce the unit topic. Authentic tradebook libraries are available, and shorter, authentic texts are found in the Read Aloud Handbook. These build social emotional learning and explicitly teach the knowledge-based competencies. When it comes to teaching the standards, we need on-grade level texts, anchor texts. Even in grades K and 1, we want students to have access to complex text. However, they often can't read these texts independently, so we read them aloud. These lap books and big books build our K1 students' knowledge-based competencies of comprehension, vocabulary, skills, and strategies. But we are simultaneously teaching foundational reading skill competencies through the student consumable called My Reading and Writing. In grades 2 and above, both knowledge and foundational competencies are found in the text for close reading. These write-in student books, one for each of the 10 units, contain 8 different texts on the unit topic, plus multiple tasks to engage students' critical thinking. And rather than having a single poetry unit, we include poetry in every unit. We call these poetry out loud because they are narrated by celebrity readers. We also include authentic voice texts, reflecting diverse authors and illustrators, telling their story in their voice. This allows children to see themselves reflected in the text and opportunities to learn about others. And for every whole group text, we've identified how to address cultural responsiveness as well as social emotional learning. Everything within Benchmark Advance is both print and digital and interactive. Teachers and students can underline, highlight, and take notes. The texts also have audio support.
Village of the Moon Rain.
They are accessible online through Benchmark Universe and offline through our app. And for grades 2 and above, novel studies are provided online with lesson plans. Let's focus on the foundational reading skill competencies from the Science of Reading research. These are taught in our phonics and word study lessons, and based on the phonics research of consulting author and researcher Wiley Blevins. Wiley ensured that the daily explicit systematic lessons reflect a research-based scope and sequence where skills progress from the simple to complex, as well as from the known to the new, with a robust review and repetition cycle. The daily lessons follow a systematic framework that starts with sound, phonological awareness. Lessons move to sound spelling correspondences, then to blending, building, and spelling words. Then, students focus on high-frequency words and practice those to automaticity. All the phonics tools needed to teach the lessons are provided in print and digitally in the ePocket chart. The lessons are pre-built for you, but can be customized, saved, and assigned to students. Songs reinforce letter sound and letter formation. Each day, whole group lessons provide multisensory learning, alternative learning paths, and language transfer opportunities. And small group options are provided for students who need additional support. We know from research, learning sticks when phonics skills are applied in reading and writing tasks. This happens in the student write-in texts, where they read, annotate, and write to apply foundational skills. In K&1, we start the week with We Read, where the teacher does most of the heavy lifting and students annotate for previously taught foundational skills. Then we respond to that text in a shared writing called We Write, with support for content vocabulary. Next, students engage in I Read, which is a decodable text that is a spiral review. It applies current and previously taught phonics skills and high-frequency words. Then students engage in I Write, where they retell that decodable text in writing, encoding and reinforcing comprehension. Additionally, students have decodable readers that provide more opportunities for application. Grade 2 introduces a transition to multisyllabic words to prepare for the rigor of grade-level text. In grades 3 through 6, foundational skill instruction shifts to word study. These lessons provide 5 days of instruction for whole group and small group. Instruction begins with decoding multisyllabic words, but also explicitly teaches prefixes and suffixes, Greek and Latin roots, and the 6 syllable types. Decoding and context clues are used to determine word meaning. These skills are taught using a familiar text, reflected in spelling, and then applied in an unfamiliar text called a word study read. Now, let's look at the knowledge-based competencies from the science of reading research. These are taught through our reading and writing lessons. As students read and write, they are building their vocabulary. Remember, we have two vocabulary types, the knowledge concept vocabulary and the academic and domain-specific vocabulary. And students need both. These are the words students will find in the texts. During the reading lessons, students will read about the topic, listen and speak about the topic, and write about the topic to build knowledge. Every lesson is clearly identified with its focus and learning targets. This includes both ELA standard learning as well as building knowledge. Each unit mirrors the gradual release of responsibility. Model, guide, apply. I do, we do, you do. The teacher models the skill, and then students spend much of the time in guided practice. Here, students engage in conversations around the ELA learning as well as building knowledge. In grades K and 1, students and teachers work together to collect new knowledge on the knowledge blueprint. In grades 2 and above, responsibility is released, and students collect their thoughts, questions, and knowledge on their blueprints. This allows students to begin to build independence and own the learning. Text evidence collected from the reading lessons are used in the writing lessons, and the writing lessons reinforce and strengthen the comprehension of the reading lessons. In all grades, whole group reading texts are used as writing mentor texts. We also understand there's a developmental process to writing. In grades 2 and above, explicit writing instruction focuses on both text-based and self-selected process writing. Narrative, informational, and opinion are explicitly taught in both forms of writing. Students put new learning into practice through research and inquiry projects. And at the end of every 3-week unit, the student consumable book goes home, reinforcing that ownership of both the texts and the learning. A take-home activity calendar shows family members ways their child can demonstrate and continue their learning at home. In Benchmark Advance, there are many embedded supports for responsive teaching. It begins in whole group, with supports in each lesson. The first read provides ways to scaffold complex text with an if-then chart, including multisensory supports like audio for all texts. Integrated English language development support is provided for every lesson that scaffolds all students as they develop language. You'll find light, moderate, and substantial support specific to each lesson. And the Think, Speak, Listen flipbooks provide sentence frames and sentence starters to support academic conversations. For students of varying cognitive abilities, key access points provide modifications to the learning task as they demonstrate their understanding. And during small group, teachers might reteach grade-level standards or scaffold students with grade-level texts, or reteach foundational skills, provide intervention, or use the small group texts to practice standards. Reader's Theater gives students practice with fluency. For independent practice, students will engage in the grade-level tasks that end each lesson. They can respond to texts with a choice of activities in the peer coaching menu, and an array of independent reading and writing practice activities are provided as well. Responsive teaching is informed by assessment. Informal and diagnostic assessments are provided that include rubrics and checklists, along with summative assessments. Whole group assessments can be taken online as e-assessments. They provide accommodations for students and include tech-enhanced items like drag and drop and extended response questions. The e-assessments are automatically graded, and the reports monitor student progress towards standards in real time and over time. These reports are available to show individual student data, but also at the class level, the school level, and the district level. At heart, we are a professional development company. We work with districts to develop a plan that meets their needs, which can include on-site or virtual training using best practices. Regardless of your plan, we've created online modules to get you started, available 24/7. And when we're not there, Advance and Action allows you to watch lessons taught by teachers using the program. Every part of Benchmark Advance is intentional, integrated, and purposeful. It starts with a strong instructional framework that allows students to build knowledge while learning ELA standards. This can't happen without the right texts that allow students to build knowledge, perspectives, and learn in an environment that integrates reading, writing, listening, and speaking. An environment that allows you to be responsive throughout the day during whole group, small group, and independent learning. Please consider Benchmark Advance, a content-based literacy program that is integrated, intentional, purposeful, and designed to help build a culture of high expectations and achievement for each learner. Please visit benchmarkadvance.com to learn more.